could Hunter Dickinson come back to Michigan? He's in the transfer portal. He is also currently, as we speak, I believe, on either a Zoom call or in-person meeting with Kentucky, according to a report from Jeff Goodman of Stadium. He's been in contact with just about every high major team that can use a big man, and even some that probably have a pretty good big man. But it's Hunter Dickinson. He's the top-rated player in the transfer portal for a reason. I also start thinking about this, and I was talking about this with my dad yesterday. We were just talking about how, the way Hunter went out, right? With really no comments about Michigan, even on his own podcast, nothing on social media, other than others reporting that he's popped up in the transfer portal. Could that be something as well where, hey, he hasn't said goodbye yet because he doesn't know that it's goodbye yet? From, things we've heard, and again, we'll have some updates over at thewolverine.com, get premium access now. From everything that, we've heard, that's not totally out of the woods at this point. I wouldn't expect it personally, but it's not totally out of the woods. Also, when you look at this, there was a report from a Maryland writer just the other day, I believe on Monday, that's a possibility. So, Anthony Broome, could this happen?
I suppose it could. It'd be awkward, and a lot of tweets and social media posts might get deleted or even just left up as receipts for posterity, whatever it is. I don't know that I see that. I think that the wording of Michigan's statement talking about how it was unfortunate. I mean, I don't think that bridges have been burned here, but there have been, Hunter Dickinson's famous for ruffling feathers across college basketball. And I think that with what happened last week, there were finally some feathers ruffled in Ann Arbor, especially with I don't know that everyone was fully in tune or really that much in tune at all with what his plans or intentions were. So I won't rule it out. I mean, we've seen crazier things happen. I mean, if we're talking about, let's just say, we have reports now that Michigan is interested in Caleb Love. I don't think that Caleb Love is going to wind up at Michigan because of NIL and because Love's a St. Louis native. They're talking about him going to Missouri. It makes a lot of sense for that to happen. But if you're, if you're telling me the buzz from the last few days is that Hunter Dickinson is waffling potentially, and that Caleb Love is interested in Michigan, Michigan's been in contact with him. Could I see a scenario where Dickinson comes back as part of a package deal? I suppose I could. I think it's more likely that both of those guys aren't here than they are here. And again, we've talked about before how things have been so fluid in the portal so far. Before we came on Three's Joe Tipton had said something along the lines of one of the top transfers is set to come off the board today. And we're sitting here going, oh God, who are we going to talk about? How do we set the plan for this show?
Probably Love, because Hunter's
well,
meeting.
I was going to say, as we're recording this, I checked social media. I don't know if this would be the one he's referring to, but former Arizona point guard Kerr Kriisa is off the board to West Virginia. So I don't know if that's one of the top ones. It could be. I suspect that it was, but we'll see. At this point, given I almost feel like there's more to be. I mean, listen, if Hunter Dickinson calls up Juwan Howard and says, forget NIL, forget all of that, I want to finish what I started here. You take him back and you deal with, the stuff, because the comments from teammates, listen, no offense. A lot of the stuff that was on social media, we saw stuff from Wilt Cheddar. I think it was on Instagram. There was a comment that went around from Jace Howard. Listen, I mean, I'm going to put stock into the former All-American as opposed to the guys who, no offense to those guys. I like those guys a lot. Good guys and I think solid role players. But I think you can mend those fences if, a roster comes together that everyone's kind of back on the same page. But at this point, given everything that's gone on, I think that I think that if you're going all in on a hard reset, to me, it just feels like I'm not going to say they shouldn't, bring him back. I think you do if he wants to come back, but I don't see it happening, honestly. There are too many high majors out there with bags of cash they're willing to throw around for basketball, which I was with some donors on Friday night. It doesn't seem like there's still much of an appetite to do that for hoops. Hunter Dickinson's path to making money in this game is not maybe as long as he thought it would be. So I still ultimately see that being the case where he goes elsewhere.
You do bring up an interesting point, though, when it comes to Caleb Love. Now, whether Caleb Love would be attractive to him or not, or maybe it's somebody else that Michigan brings in. They already brought in Amari Burnett. I don't know if that necessarily totally moves the needle for Hunter Dickinson. And actually, I think he committed before Hunter left, a day before. So, but you bring up that point of, who are the two things that we speculated were Hunter Dickinson's reasons for leaving were, one, the roster coming back and how things were kind of looking bleak there. And two, the potential to be a free agent where your value goes way up, right? Well, you're a free agent now. Your value at Michigan could go up. Again, I don't think they're going to dole out a bag of cash or, whoever's involved with the NIL to do that. But, maybe it'd be more than it would have been if he would have not entered the portal and just stayed, that sort of thing. And then also what Juwan Howard does in the transfer portal. If they can move quickly here and get a guy or two, if it's Caleb Love or if it's somebody else, then I think it could ease some of the concerns that Hunter Dickinson would maybe have. But again, I don't see it happening.
Let me say this too. He's in the transfer portal right now. He's not on, technically still on the roster, but you're a free agent right now. You don't get to dictate how this roster was built anymore, as far as I'm concerned. If you're in the building and you're saying these are the guys, if you're pushing for guys, that's one thing. But I don't think Hunter Dickinson suddenly gets to, have and I'm not saying you're saying this, but I don't think that I'm just interested in seeing where it goes. So I don't want to stick my foot in my mouth from there. But if Michigan can move fast to fill some of these spots, and let's just, for example, if you're telling me that in the next couple of days, they could come out of this with, let's just say, Harrison Ingram and Chris Ledlum, just the two first names that popped in my head. If that's what fills my roster, sorry, I'll roll with that and Amari Burnett and Terrace Reed and Doug McDaniel and see what else I can come up with. So, but if you want to come back, this better happen pretty quickly, I think.
But a couple things, and now we're talking long on Hunter Dickinson. Neither of us think it's going to happen, but just that door being left open just a little bit. What was I going to say on that? Well, basically, too, I don't think it'd be Hunter Dickinson dictating anything. I think it'd be more, the onus is on the staff to, hey, and I don't think this would be their number one priority either, but, build a roster, right, that can win. And if Hunter Dickinson sees a path to that, I don't think you say no to him.
I think that's ultimately the point I made too, is that if he wants to come back, it's a situation where, like, hey, look, just added Amari Burnett. Here's Harrison Ingram. You sure about this? Sure about it? I could see that maybe being the case, but I don't know. It depends. Again, Lent is coming to an end soon. We're going to hear from Hunter on social media soon enough. So we'll see what happens. I want to make my stance very clear, though. If Hunter Dickinson wants to come back, let him come back. But the idea that, they're trying to put together a roster for him to reconsider, I don't know. I felt like you could be part of those conversations while still being, kind of in the building, so to speak. So we'll see where it goes.